I want to start this video with something one of you said in the comments last week. Someone wrote, and I'm quoting this directly, "Dr. Thorne, I've been training hard for 11 years. I can't press overhead anymore without feeling like my shoulder is being ripped apart from the inside." 11 years. This person didn't quit. They didn't get lazy. They showed up, put in the work, and their body is now the thing that's breaking their progress. And before you say that's not me, check in with yourself right now. When was the last morning you woke up and your knees didn't click? When did your lower back stop feeling like a rusted hinge? When did your shoulders stop grinding every time you reached up for something on a shelf? If you're nodding right now, this video was made for you. Here's what I need you to do before we go any further. Drop a comment below with the one body part that feels the most stiff or off today, right now. I'll be reading every single one, because today's video isn't just content, it is a direct response to what this community has been asking me about for months. This is a two-way street. I built this channel to be the ultimate resource for primal performance and structural longevity. So as we go through this together, I want to troubleshoot your specific frame. Comment the exercise that always makes your joints feel wrong. We're going to fix this together in real time. Because here at Primal Unleashed, we live by one truth. Modern life makes us soft. Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We don't just lift weight, we reclaim our nature. Let's get into it. My name is Dr. Thorne. I'm a movement science researcher, a strength practitioner, and the voice behind the Silverback Standard. The philosophy that real strength isn't measured in vanity metrics, it's measured in how many decades you can still move like a predator. Today we are going into something most fitness content completely ignores, not because it isn't important, but because it doesn't photograph well. You can't post a picture of your collagen density, you can't flex your hip capsule, you can't show off scapular stability in a tank top. But every elite performer, every combat athlete, every person still moving fast and pain-free at 60, they all share one thing that the pretty muscle crowd never talks about. Their biological scaffolding is intact. Their joints, the hinges, the capsules, the connective architecture of the human machine are loaded, primed, and unbreakable. And today, I'm going to show you the primal science to build that scaffolding. Not just to survive your workouts, but to train hard for the next 50 years without your body becoming your enemy. We're covering 5 things today. Each one builds on the last. If you stay to the end, you will walk away with a complete, actionable protocol you can start this week. So don't skip ahead. Every layer matters. Let me paint you a picture of the average person in 2026. You wake up, you check your phone, probably before your feet even hit the floor. You commute sitting down. You work sitting down. You eat sitting down. You decompress sitting down. And then you wonder why your hips feel like a locked vault and your lower back screams every time you try to deadlift. Here's what's actually happening inside your body. When you park yourself in a chair for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, your joints are not resting, they are calcifying. Synovial fluid, the lubricant that keeps your joints moving freely, requires movement to circulate. It's not like blood. It doesn't have its own pump. It moves only when you move. When you stop moving, and I mean really moving through full ranges of motion under load, your synovial fluid stagnates. The joint capsule tightens, collagen crosslinks form in the wrong angles, and over time, what used to be a flexible, mobile hinge becomes something closer to concrete. Your joints aren't old, they're just abandoned. And here's what really gets me. Here's the part of this conversation the fitness industry refuses to have honestly. Most people are in the gym trying to build muscle on top of a broken structure. They are stacking bricks on a crumbling foundation. You can have the most impressive physique in the room and still move like a man twice your age because no one told you the truth. Muscle aesthetics without structural integrity is a trap. The Silverback Standard isn't about how you look in the mirror. It is about deep structural integrity. It is about building the kind of body that works, that performs, that doesn't betray you when you need it most. I want to ask the long-term members of this channel something. Those of you who've been here for a year or more, have your fitness goals shifted? Has the question changed from how do I look to how do I feel? How do I function? How do I stay in this for the long haul? Comment below. Tell me when that shift happened for you. Because that mindset shift from aesthetics to structural longevity is the Silverback Standard coming to life in your own story. Now, once we understand what's breaking the structure down, we need to understand what builds it back up. And this is where the science gets interesting. For the last 15 years, mainstream physical therapy has been telling injured people the same thing. Rest it, ice it, take it easy, go low impact.
And for certain acute injuries in the immediate phase, that advice has merit. But here's that the research, and I mean the current peer-reviewed research on connective tissue adaptation, is telling us with increasing clarity. Prolonged rest is one of the worst things you can do for a joint. Cartilage has almost no direct blood supply. It feeds itself through compression and decompression, through loading. When you load a joint through its full range of motion, you squeeze nutrients into the cartilage and pull waste products out. When you stop loading, that exchange stops completely. This process, progressive mechanical loading triggering collagen synthesis, is the biological foundation of joint durability. Your tendons, your cartilage, your joint capsules all adapt to stress just like muscle does. The difference is the timeline. Muscle adapts in weeks, connective tissue adapts in months, which means most people load their muscles faster than their joints can keep up, and that gap is exactly where injuries live. I want to challenge something right now. I want you to debate this in the comments. The question is, do you believe heavy, controlled loading is safer for long-term joint health than complete rest? If you've been injured and came back through training, not despite it, but because of it, tell me your story. This community needs to hear from people who lived this, not just from textbooks. Because here's the key word I used: controlled, not reckless, not ego-driven, controlled mechanical stress at the right angles with the right intent. And this is where machines fail us. Every cable station, every guided press, every pen-loaded apparatus in a commercial gym was designed to isolate muscle. They move through fixed planes. They don't challenge your joints through the irregular compound angles that real life demands. They don't build the connective architecture you need when you're carrying your kid, sprinting on uneven ground, or grinding through fatigue at the end of a set.
Primal loading isn't random. It's intentional. It hits the angles your joints actually need to survive. Which brings us to the foundation of the entire structure, your lower body, your hips, your spine. Because if those aren't right, nothing above them is. I've assessed thousands of movement patterns over the years, and I will tell you with complete certainty, the #1 structural failure I see in the human body in 2026 is not a weak back, it's an immobile hip. Your lower back hurts not because your back is weak, it's because your hips won't move, so your spine compensates. It takes the load that your hips were built to carry, and over time, that compensation becomes a compression pattern, vertebrae grinding against each other, discs under chronic shear force, paraspinal muscles locked in permanent protective spasm. That stiffness you feel when you get out of bed, that's not age. That's your spine doing a job it was never designed to do. The fix begins with one thing: hip mobility through loaded range. Not passive stretching. Passive stretching alone does not build new movement. It doesn't teach the nervous system that the new range is safe. It doesn't load the collagen. What we need is active mobility, moving into range under control, with intention, with load where appropriate. And here is your first take-home movement right now. This is what I call the Primal Hinge Reset. Stand with your feet at hip width. Hinge at the hip, not the waist, pushing your hips back like you're reaching for a wall behind you. Let your spine lengthen, not round. Feel the pull through your posterior chain. From that hinged position, breathe into your lower back, not your chest. 3 long, slow breaths, expanding the space between your vertebrae with each inhale. Then drive through your glutes to return to standing. That is the beginning of retraining your body to load through the hips, not the spine. 5 repetitions, 3 times a day. Start there. Now, I know some of you have tried active hanging, dead hangs from a bar for spinal decompression. If you have, drop your result in the comments right now. Did it help? Did you feel immediate relief? Did it take time? Because the data on active hanging for lumbar decompression is genuinely compelling, and I want this community's lived experience to add to that conversation. For those who haven't tried it, a 30-second dead hang from a pull-up bar 2 to 3 times per day actively decompresses the lumbar vertebrae, creates traction through the hip flexors, and begins to reverse the compressive damage of daily sitting. It costs you nothing but a pull-up bar in 90 seconds. Once your hips open and your spine decompresses, something powerful happens to the rest of your structure. Your pelvis recenters. Your rib cage drops. Your thoracic spine can finally extend, and that directly changes what happens in the system above it, your shoulders. Because the shoulders don't exist in isolation. They sit on top of the spine, and if the spine is crooked, the shoulders never had a chance. Let me describe a posture to you, and I want you to tell me honestly. Does this sound familiar? Head forward, chin jutting toward your screen, shoulders rolled in and forward, upper back rounded into a C curve, chest compressed. That is the posture of the modern world. That is what hours of screens, keyboards, and downward-looking devices do to the human frame. It destroys your scapular control, and without scapular control, your shoulder joint is grinding on borrowed time. Here's the anatomy. Your rotator cuff, 4 muscles wrapping around the head of your humerus, is designed to stabilize the shoulder in the socket, while your prime movers do the heavy lifting. But when your scapula can't move properly, when it's locked forward and downward by tight pecs and a weak serratus anterior, the rotator cuff is working in a permanently compromised position. Every press, every pull, every overhead reach, the head of the humerus is impinging on the structures above it, rather than gliding cleanly through the socket. That grinding you feel? That's a structural warning signal. The solution is what I call the 360-degree stability shield. 3 movements that rebuild your scapular architecture from the inside out. Movement 1, the serratus wall slide. Stand facing a wall, forearms against the surface. Push your forearms into the wall and slide them overhead while keeping your rib cage down and your lower back neutral. This teaches your scapula to upwardly rotate correctly. 10 reps, slow, every transition delivered. Movement 2, the prone T-raise. Lie face down, arms extended to the sides at 90 degrees, thumbs pointed up. Lift your arms off the floor, squeezing your mid-traps. Hold for 3 seconds at the top. This rebuilds the upper back strength that a screen-heavy life strips away. 15 reps with a 2-second hold. Movement 3, the external rotation wall drill. Stand with your elbow bent at 90 degrees, upper arm against your ribs. Place the back of your hand against a wall. Push into the wall for 5 seconds, isometric external rotation. Then release. Repeat 8 times. This directly trains the posterior rotator cuff in a safe, loaded position. These 3 movements together complete the 360-degree stability shield. Not just strength in one plane, but omnidirectional stability that eliminates grinding, improves pressing mechanics, and lets you move overhead without pain. I need to ask the community something right now. Comment the word shield if you want me to build a complete follow-along routine for rotator cuff health, a dedicated video just for this, something you can run through before every upper body session. If I see enough shield comments, that video goes straight to the top of the production queue, because shoulder health is not a niche concern. It is the difference between a lifetime of training and a lifetime of regrets. Now that we've addressed the entire structure, from the ground up, from hip to spine to shoulder, we need to talk about the most important part. How do you actually live this? How do you sustain this in a real life that is busy, imperfect, and always competing for your time? Here is the honest problem with most joint health advice. It's presented as a rehabilitation program, a short-term fix, something you do when you're broken until you feel better, and then you stop. That thinking is exactly why people keep breaking. Joint health is not rehabilitation. It's maintenance. It's practice. It's a non-negotiable permanent layer of your training life, the same way you don't stop brushing your teeth once your cavity heals. What I'm about to give you is what I call the Forever Protocol, a sustainable, weekly structure that fits around a real 2026 life without requiring extra hours or a dedicated recovery day. It works on a principle I call micro-dosing mobility. Instead of one 90-minute stretching session per week that you'll skip half the time, you embed short, high-frequency joint work throughout every single day. The biology supports this approach more strongly than single long sessions, because you're creating more frequent mechanical stimulation of the joint tissue.
Here's what the weekly structure looks like. Every morning, 5 minutes. Before your feet hit the floor, do 30 seconds of each. Ankle circles, hip cars, thoracic rotation, shoulder cars, and neck cars. 5 movements, 30 seconds each. This circulates your synovial fluid, sets your nervous system tone, and tells your body what range of motion is available today. You can do this in your bed, no excuses. Every training day, 8 minutes of preloading. Before any strength work, run through the Primal Hinge Reset, add the serratus wall slides, add band pull-aparts, and finish with a deep goblet squat hold. This is not a warm-up. This is joint preparation, loading the connective tissue before you add external load. 3 days per week, a 10-minute joint circuit. This is where the 360-degree stability shield lives. The T-raises, the external rotation drills, active hanging, hip 90-90 mobility flows. These dedicated sessions are where you make real structural progress, not just maintaining, but building new range, new collagen, new resilience. Weekly total? Roughly 90 minutes, spread across 7 days, 13 minutes per day, for joint health that sustains a lifetime of training. The math is not complicated. The commitment is. I want to ask the veterans of this channel something directly, the people who've been training consistently for 5, 10, 15 years or more. What is your single most important habit for staying consistent when life gets busy, when work explodes, when travel disrupts your schedule, when motivation is low? What's the one thing you never skip? Drop your answer below. Seriously, those comments are worth more than any supplement advice or training program. Real-world wisdom from people who have stayed in the game. That's the resource this community is built on. Because consistency is the final variable. The science is real, the protocol works, but none of it matters without sustained practice over time. And sustained practice requires knowing your why. Which brings me to the most important question I'll ask you today. Not what you're training for, not how you're training, but why are you committed to staying injury-free, to building an unbreakable body, to doing this for the long haul? Is it your kids? Wanting to run with them, play with them, be there for them, not just present, but physically capable for decades to come? Is it your own identity, the deep, primal need to know that your body is your vehicle and it is reliable, that when the moment demands it, you can answer? Is it the people who told you you were done, that you were too old, too hurt, too far gone, and somewhere in you there's a fire that refuses to accept that story? Whatever your why is, I want you to write it down. Not type it, write it physically on paper, because when you write it, you own it differently. You anchor it in your identity. And then I want you to come back to that why every single week. Because the silverback standard isn't a training philosophy you adopt once and coast on. It is a daily decision, a declaration that your biological nature is worth defending, that the human body, your body, was not designed to calcify in a chair and decay quietly into irrelevance. You were built to move, to carry, to lift, to reach, to sprint, to live in your body with full ownership and joy. Modern life will keep trying to steal that from you. The desk will keep pulling you back. The screen will keep calling. The path of least resistance will always be there, comfortable and seductive and slowly killing your capacity. Your job, our job, here, together, is to refuse that story. Train your joints like they matter, because they do, because you do. Not for the next month, not for the next program cycle, for the next 50 years. Before you close this video, do one thing right now. Comment below with your why, the one reason you're committed to staying injury-free for the long haul. One sentence. It takes 15 seconds, and it cements something important, not just for the algorithm, but for you. If you want the Shield video, the complete shoulder and rotator cuff follow-along, comment Shield right now. That's how it gets made. If this gave you value, subscribe and share it with one person in your life who's dealing with joint pain or stiffness, not because it helps the channel, although it does, but because they deserve to know this exists. The next video in this series goes deep into something almost nobody talks about, how your nervous system controls joint integrity and why your brain might actually be the biggest obstacle to your mobility. You'll want to be here for that one. Until then, move with intention, load with purpose, reclaim what's yours. This is Primal Unleashed. I'm Dr. Aris Thorne, and the Silverback Standard never quits.